Want to bring your man close so that you never have to lose your marriage? Well, you are in the right place. My name is Miss Linda and I post weekly content to help you get the marriage you deserve. So hit the subscribe button so that you never miss any of my femininity and relationship related content. Now, last year I was at my lowest when I was separated, and honestly, I thought I was gonna get a divorce. Now, as I was dealing with all the anger and resentment through my separation, one thing kept bothering me. I kept wondering, Linda, even if you leave this marriage or if your marriage never works out and you get into another relationship, what would you do differently? And that question really bothered me because I couldn't understand how 10 years ago when I said I do, I was his baby, his boo. He used to give me all the gifts, all the dates, all the surprises. Then all of a sudden, here we are, separated. I just never understood how two good people would not be happy in a relationship. So I went down this rabbit hole and I invested a lot in courses, in coaching, in mentorship. I read almost all the relationship books. I read so much material, and then I stumbled on femininity. And that's when I realized that I had been operating in my masculine so much in my relationship, and I was creating a lot of habits and behaviors that really slowly poisoned our 10-year marriage. And I had to take responsibility for that. I realized that how I showed up, all the qualities that made me such a successful career woman, were not going to apply in my romantic relationship. And once I started to realize and learn about femininity, during my separation, I softened, I became a girl again, I changed my vibe again. And I remember even when we eventually met with Happy to have the relationship talk, immediately he was like, babe, I'm willing to do anything to make this marriage of ours work. I'm not gonna compromise. And in my heart, finally, I knew we were on the same page. There was no forcing, no ultimatums, no yelling. We simply understood each other. I finally spoke and he heard me, but it was from a very, very different space. And that's how I went from almost divorced to getting back my relationship. And I was even telling Happy the other day, I wouldn't even want the kind of love that we had during our honeymoon. Because right now I feel so secure in myself and I feel so emotionally safe in my marriage. So let me share 5 tips that will help you to bring your man close, even if you're thinking about a divorce right now. The first thing, if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, things are not working out, I'm headed for divorce, number 1, take a mental break from your relationship. And so many times as women, we find ourselves trying to solve problems, to fix things, to have one more conversation. Realize that your relationship right now is like a car running on empty. There's no fuel. So wanting to have one more conversation, not only is it draining for you, because that is you being in your heavy masculine energy, it also will not yield any results because there's literally no gas in the car for it to keep moving. So take a mental break. The second thing, get clear on whether or not this is the relationship for you. And this is exactly what I had to do during my separation. I had to figure out what are my values right now. Who is this woman I had becoming? Because the truth is I had changed over the last 10 years and I started working on myself a lot and I was growing and I was changing. And I had to get real with who was I becoming? What were my new values? At the beginning of the relationship, I placed values like friendship as number 1, but I had other values that had come up. So get really clear in terms of who you are, who you're becoming, and be really honest with whether this really still is the man for you, that you see yourself growing and, doing the whole 9 yards. Okay? And one little tip over there is to trust your feelings. And even as I was doing my love list, because I eventually ended up having a whole new love list, I felt like, oh my goodness, these things that I desire, yes, I feel my man is still the one who can is a match for me. So that's the second step. Get clear on what it is that you want. The third thing is to really work on changing your vibe. And if you are a successful working woman, you're used to being a lot in your masculine energy. You're always fixing things, you're always solving things, you're always overgiving. And at times it takes a toll on women because you realize, like, why am I doing all this work? I have so much to do and yet I have no space for me. And that's what I did. I took some time off and I just started to reconnect with myself. I got new hobbies. I even tried out pole dancing. I did painting. I did so many things just to reconnect with me. I even pivoted my whole content. I focused a lot on my content creation, started creating new content. I really started to pouring a lot of energy back onto me. I got a new haircut, I changed my wardrobe. I really wanted to change my vibe just because I felt like I needed to shake things up. And that's the fourth thing, to really just bring back juiciness into your life. Many times women, we like to say, oh, the marriage has lost the spark. But at times you don't realize just how much you've lost yourself. I was out at a party the other day and you could tell who are the married women, who are the single women. The married women were all like really stiff and dancing, so careful not to shake anything too much. The single women looked like they had so much life going on. And I remember asking my friend, and I'm like, why is there such a huge difference? And she's like, Linda, it's because as married women, we have to be careful that we are not doing too much because we don't want to be seen as being too seductive. And you see, that's the programming us as wives have, such that it's like once you say I do, you throw away this personality and then you have to box yourself into this new personality. So start to really come and own who you truly are, and this work sure does take courage. And not only does it make you happy, it makes you magnetic as well. Okay, the fifth thing, start taking yourself out on self dates. Get a social life. Whether you like it or not, if you have reached a point where you're feeling like your man is distancing, you're about to get a divorce, you need to start bringing back this playful male energy around you. Go to a coffee shop, smile at guys. If they're smiling at you, smile back. If somebody says you look beautiful, say thank you. Many times as wives, we close our energy so much and it stifles us. So start to become playful again, start to bring back that freshness into your vibe. And then if you're still together in the same home, as you're starting to do a lot of these things, you'll realize your man will come back to you with some renewed attention. He'll be like, and it's happened a lot with my clients. There are men all of a sudden tell them, oh babe, I want to have dinner with you in the house. Maybe before, everyone used to like come at whatever time. One goes to the living room, the other one is the dining room. Everybody, you're in the same house, but you're apart. But all of a sudden, you'll find your man will be interested in you. Remember, this is just a side effect of you falling back in love and connecting with who you are as a woman. Okay, so once he starts to come back with this renewed energy, the best thing is to really just be cordial. If he says he wants to have dinner with you, immediate reaction would be for you to say no, because probably you're angry or resentful. However, remember, you are this car that's running on empty and you have to put fuel back so that you can get on the road. So if he wants to sit and have dinner with you, just be cordial, be polite and say, okay, you don't have to do anything extra. Just be there, your pretty, beautiful self. Sit and eat dinner. If he wants to talk, let him talk. Once you are done with what you're doing, you can excuse yourself and go back. So the idea is to bring back warmth into the relationship. And when you really feel ready, emotionally and mentally, you can have the relationship talk. And the right space, and this is what I guide most of my ladies with, and this is what worked for me. Once I started feeling softer on the outside, I was falling back in love with myself. I was feeling like, yes, I'm now ready. He asked me out on a date and he wanted to for us to talk about our family. And it was at that point you can now express what you feel. You can tell him, babe, I've been feeling so hurt for the last couple of years, and I really honestly would love to enjoy a joyful romantic relationship. How would you want for us to resolve this? So that is the right time to have the conversation. Don't rush the relationship talk, because remember, when at the point when you're having the relationship conversation, it is really a difficult moment. That's why, like, if I take the analogy of the car, if you're pushing the car onto the road before it has fuel, it's not gonna move. So when you keep doing these small little things, he wants to sit with you for dinner, you say okay. He asks you how are you, you're okay. You're bringing back joy into your life. It's like slowly you're fueling your car, and once at least there's some fuel, then there's renewed attention from him. Then you can start to ignite and see whether you can move from Nairobi to, if maybe you want to go to Mombasa, you can fuel and figure out if you're moving from Nairobi to maybe, what is this town? The next town. Okay, so start slow, and remember, all these steps are very natural. And the one thing I realized when I did this, and even when I was being guided to do it, it really took a load from me. I was not having to think about how will we resolve this issue or what will we do. It was actually me coming back to myself, me realizing that I too had a role to play. I was showing up in heavy masculine ways. I was critical, I was angry, I really used to complain a lot. And I was doing these things thinking that I was being a nice, helpful wife. So, yes, once you express your feelings, accept whatever it is that he says. In my case, my hubby was like, of course, let's make this relationship work. Maybe in your case, it may be, I don't think I want to stay in this relationship. Whatever it is, whatever the outcome, and this is part of being in your feminine flow, accept whatever it is that he says. Accept what it is that he says. If by any chance he comes and says, I still don't think would be a good match, I don't think I want to be this married, accept it, and then go do your healing and grieving. Okay, so those are my steps that worked for me. If you feel you need further support, I'd really love to know. Let me know what you think about the steps, and if you feel you need help with me privately, I even have a link to one of my group programs. Feel free to check them out in the description box, and I'll be more than excited to hear more from you. Bye for now.